There goes the neighborhood.
He's come home to kill.
The party's just begun.
Nobody lives here.
Where's Freddy?
He's not home.
Freddy is dead. We won, remember?
He's coming back for us.
I had a conflict. Homework or Dynasty, and Dynasty won.
Earth Dallas, hey, you spacing again?
Nightmares?
Yeah.
God, I hate dreaming.
Did you ever hear of the Dream Master?
Sounds like a game show host to me.
Sorry!
It's not just a house. It's his home. This isn't a normal nightmare. I'm Hysteria.
In case you haven't been keeping score, it's his fucking banquet, and I'm the last course.
Wanna suck the face?
No, I can't sleep. Someone might die.
I don't believe in you.
We're both asleep. He's got us going in circles.
I've been guarding my gate for a long time, bitch. I am eternal.
Now I lay me down to sleep. The master of dreams, my soul I keep. In the reflection of my mind's eye, evil will see itself. And it's out!
Hello, baby.
Dynasty again?
And the Oscar goes to...
God, I hate dreaming. I'm Hysteria. God, I hate... It's not just a house. Sounds like a game show host to me.
It's his fucking banquet, and I'm the last course.
Sounds like a game show host to me.
Hello, this is PJ Souls from Halloween and Innocent Prey and Carrie and totally a lot of other movies. And you are listening to The Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, episode 161. And this time, get ready for Freddy, because he's back after our Freddy vs. Jason as the last episode. But this time we're going back in time to not Springwood. No, to Springwood this time. I got it wrong last time. I was determined to get it right this time. Back to Springwood for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. But without, well, actually, there's a little bit of Jason in there, isn't there? But we'll get to that. So, how are we doing? We're recording. Actually, this is a bit of a luxury for our brethren in Tennessee, because we're recording in the afternoon for them, and it's in the evening for me and Erik. So you don't have to wipe sleepy dust from your eyes, do you? Or is it angel dust for you, Nathan?
I don't do angel dust.
Isn't that the stuff that's the thing you put on your mouth and it pops, isn't it?
Pop rocks. Is that Pop Rocks?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got those mixed up.
If anyone would know about putting things in their mouth that pops, it'd be Erik.
Hey.
Yes.
Surely it's Justin, you mean?
I don't think so. No. So anyway, Nathan, how are you? You enjoying the lion?
The lion?
You enjoying the tiger as well?
The lion.
And the bears? Oh. Yeah, it was a very nice day. I was outside with the animals for a little while.
Okay.
Sure you were.
Yeah, well, thank you, Snow White. How are you doing, Joseph?
Say!
A man of few words. So, yes, well, we're back again.
I've got my karate headband on.
Oh, I bet you have. Yeah, the Karate Kid. Glad to have you with us.
You gotta have balance, Justin.
Well,
you don't have balance.
No, but this is the Hysteria Continues Dream Team, and 1-2 Erik's coming for you. So, how are you doing, Erik?
I don't believe in you.
Hey, you would say that too if you were lifting weights while you were having to give that dialogue. True. Very tiring.
It is.
Well, as you can imagine, there's a lot to say about this, and as you know, we can never shut Erik up, but we'll come on to him a little bit later. But before we do that...
come all over me.
Yeah, chance to be a fine thing. Well, chance, no, that's not quite the right saying. But anyway, so we are back, and yes, the Hysteria Continues Dream Team. We are covering Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Which one is this? I always get confused. Dream Warriors?
Dream Master.
Dream Master, that's it, yes. Mm-hmm. And I've got a shocking confession to make a little bit later. But we'll keep you in suspense. Before we do that, we're going to do. We actually only recorded we're doing our time travel thing again. We only recorded Freddy vs. Jason yesterday in the real world, but in the dream world, this is going out 2 weeks after Freddy vs. Jason, which isn't out for another 2 weeks unless you're one of our dear Patreon listeners.
Oh, I can't keep up. It's too much.
So anyway, we haven't seen a great deal probably since we recorded yesterday, but. I've got a couple of things I'm going to mention, but we've also something to fill in the hole. Is Nathan has a quiz for us coming up? Although he's put it together quite quickly, as we're not quite sure what it's about. He did threaten something about Crazy for Ethel 2
and Fella Day,
especially for Erik. But before we get onto that, Nathan, have you seen anything the last 24 hours, or not even 24 hours? Is it? No, it is 24 hours.
I've just been watching more Santa Clarita Diet, and I have to say it's just getting better and better. So if you haven't seen it yet, I'd check it out.
I saw the first episode today, and I quite enjoyed it. Stuart didn't care for it much. He said it was the same old joke hammered into the ground. But presumably that isn't the case as it goes on?
No, I feel like it goes a different direction this time around. Okay. Eventually. Yes.
Eventually, okay.
Stuart sounds like he's a lot of fun at parties.
Well, yeah.
Harsh. You can tell him I said that.
I will do. So, it's okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. I don't want to invoke the pink lady. So, is that everything you've got to say at this juncture?
The pink lady? Am I in Greece? Am I Rizzo?
Well, I think our listeners
pink
will know
lady
what
is
I'm
an
talking
apple.
about. Hmm?
A pink lady is an apple.
Are you calling me an apple?
Well, what's pink and kicks off?
Pink and kicks off. A pink football?
Yeah, he's got you there. There's a pink football.
I would say Nathan's lawnmower bitch, which was stolen by a fucking pig.
Yes, I think so.
Oh, is it rhubarb?
Oh, classic Nathan. So yeah, weren't even pretending. So, thank you, Nathan.
God. Okay, all right.
Anyway, what's the? I imagine you've been watching the Great British Bake Off, haven't you, Nathan?
No, but I'm going to. I just haven't started watching, I guess, this newest season yet. I'm watching a lot of RuPaul, though. Miss Vanjie.
Okay. Do you enjoy being baked?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you would. Anyway, thank you, Nathan. Erik, have you watched anything since?
It's one I watched a few days ago. I forgot to mention it on the last episode. It's a film I found called Superstition 2. Now, this is a 1989 Italian movie. Its original title, I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like Strenge or something. It's also known as Witch Story. So it's from 1989, and it's very, very, very much like Umberto Lenzi's Ghost House, which was released the year before, only not as silly. So it's just about a gang of kids. Two of them inherit a house, and they all go out there to refurbish it because it's a bit of a ruin. And unbeknownst to them, a witch used to live there, and they all start having visions of this little girl in a white nightdress who giggles a lot and asks them if they want to play. So it's very much, paint by numbers, script-wise, and sort of one by one, each person becomes possessed, but unfortunately not in a special effects heavy way. They just sort of look as normal, and they just growl and hiss a little and say bold words. They say whore a lot, actually, in it, which was kind of fun. And they act really randy as well when they get possessed by the demon. So, there's that as well. And they all walk around in stonewashed denim and white T-shirts all the time. Everyone does.
So it sounds a little bit like your first Holy Communion.
I'm not Catholic.
Well, it still sounds like your first Holy Communion.
So, as I said, it's very like Umberto Lenzi's Ghost House, which is a film I really like. Only, unfortunately, in this occasion, it's not quite silly enough to entertain, it's not horrific enough to scare, and it's not pacey enough to thrill, and it's just quite a bland movie, to be honest. It was the title Superstition 2 that sort of hooked me in. I knew not to expect a sequel to Superstition. I just knew instantly it was going to be a retitled film of some kind. But it does end. The epilogue has a title card that says October the 31st, 1989. So it's 31TH, which I thought was a very nice do not entry type touch to the finale of the film.
Absolutely, those wacky Italians.
Yes.
No,
so not one to seek out.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Erik. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, Joseph, how about you?
Actually, I watched 27 movies in the last 24 hours.
Wow.
Okay.
And I'm going to go through every one in fine detail.
Okay.
Actually, I was out late last night drinking, so I didn't.
That's not like you.
It's not like me. I actually went to a nightclub last night.
Wow.
Whoa.
Cool.
Yeah. But no, I haven't watched anything.
Okay, right. So keeping yourself.
What was the
fresh for quiz.
nightclub? Was it Swinging Richards in Atlanta?
No, it was Alan Gold's.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't. Oh, so it wasn't Boobs Disco.
Boobs Disco.
What was that in Bloody Moon? Was it?
No. It was in The Demon, the South African slasher.
Yeah.
Halloween ripoff.
Well, thank you very much, Justin. There goes one of my quiz questions.
Oh no! Well, there you go. I'm psychic as well. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Can I still get a point for that?
No.
Yeah. Does Joseph and Eric agree to give Justin 1 point headed into the quiz?
I'm not giving Justin.
I think he should be disqualified.
Yeah. He's obviously had.
Sorry, Justin. They won't allow it.
Yeah.
Well, if I lose by 1 point, I'm going to invoke the.
Sorry, can you all be quiet? Just Dirty Dancing has just started on one of the Irish TV stations.
Oh yeah, let's be silent for the rest of this podcast.
Yeah. Here we go. Oh, go on. I'll do the podcast.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so so you put me off the idea of Dirty Dancing. Anyway, I'm trying to think of something funny to say, but I can't. So I'll just tell you what I watched last night, which is a film that has been discussed on the podcast probably a couple of years ago when it came out, and it was streaming on Amazon Prime in the UK's Girl House. And I guess the reason I've been put off it really was the idea that it was wall-to-wall boobies and it was going to be a bit sleazy and a bit cheap. But in fact, although it is a story about a college student who goes to a kind of big house in the middle of the country where there's lots of ladies whose clothes fall off at the drop of a hat because she needs some money to get through college, and there's a webcam in every room, in every bathroom, everywhere around the house. But some disgruntled punter goes out and starts killing them off one by one. So I thought it was going to be really trashy, but not necessarily in a good way. I thought it was going to be something like, there's an awful lot of really cheap shit streaming on Amazon Prime. But this actually had really high production values and actually was really, really well made. It did have lots of boobies in it, and if that's your thing, that's great. But it also had sympathetic characters, quite a witty script, and actually a killer who was quite threatening, I thought. It was didn't break any new ground, but it was certainly a lot more fun than, say, My Little Lie or BigBrother.com or any of those kind of early noughties sort of Big Brother type slashers that kind of proliferated at sort of the turn of the millennium. So, yeah, I really liked it, and I remember you guys enjoying it as well.
Yes.
I
thought it was great.
I'm kind of hard pressed to remember what happens in it, but I do remember that I walked away saying, "Hey, that was pretty good." So there's a half-hearted recommendation for you.
The final girl in it, and I loved the battle at the end and what happens. I won't say what it is, but just what ends up happening. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, that was probably a smart idea.
You seen it, Eric?
Not yet, no. I do have Amazon Prime, though, so I might give it a whirl at some stage during the week.
Okay, well, I'd recommend you doing so. I just also had our neighbour next door is I can hear he's got his big tool out, so you might hear some drilling.
We can't hear it. I can't hear it anyway.
Okay, well,
I want to hear Eric's alarm again.
It wasn't my alarm.
Yeah,
it was somebody else's.
It was.
Well, if you join up to Patreon, then you can hear 24/7 Eric's alarm going off. And if that is an incentive, I don't know what it is. But the other film I wanted to mention was one that I caught up with, and I remember seeing it years ago, and I remember not being that impressed. I think partly because I thought it was going to be a giallo, and it turned out to be a very, very cheesy 80s kind of American slash movie, which is Nightmare Beach, which is set during spring break in Florida or Fort Lauderdale, one of those kind of slightly generic kind of...
Is that also known as Welcome to Spring Break?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Yes,
and
okay.
It's attributed to Umberto Lenzi, who gave us such pleasures as Eyeball. But there was some kind of controversy about whether or not he directed it, or it was he certainly was signed on to direct it, but apparently fell out with the producers. But he was involved with another very cheesy 80s slasher movie from that time, Florida set, one called Primal Rage. which kind of preempts the 28 Days Later with the monkeys biting people and people turning into, well, in this case, into psychos and going on a rampage at college campus, which was, I remember being a lot of fun. And so I went into this one with the right frame of mind this time, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's incredibly stupid. And it has a killer potentially coming back from the grave, although you don't know whether or not it's somebody who's been electrocuted, like a head of a biker gang, but somebody in a motorcycle helmet, borrowing from such films as Night School and Strip Nude for Your Killer, goes on the rampage and electrocutes people. And in one phenomenally stupid and amazing scene, he goes riding on a motorcycle which has an electrocution set up for the back seat for the passenger. So he picks up a hitchhiker and electrocutes her while she's sitting on his motorbike. So it's incredibly stupid, but it's a lot of fun, and I'll be reviewing that for Hysteria Lives quite soon. And I know it's a kind of film that Nathan would probably love.
Oh, I do love it. I can't wait till we cover it on the show.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's got actually some really interesting character actors in it as well. It's got John Saxon and various other people in there. It's kind of, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I can see Umberto Lenzi on it and maybe not on it. So, but yeah, if you like your trash late 80s American horror movies, it's great. Apart from the lead girl, and I can't remember her name now. She's in Primal Rage as well, and she basically is a plank walking. There's a great.
She'd be right at home in Dream Master then.
Well, very possibly. There's a great scene when the lead character says his best friend's just been killed, and she goes, "Oh no," and then sort of, and it portrays no emotion whatsoever, which I thought was quite funny. But yeah, that's a bit of a recommendation.
Sounds like, oh no, the dishwasher stopped working.
But it was. It's kind of like she just, yeah, you have to watch it to see. But that was a lot of fun. So, but. And it's a big but. Are you ready for this, Erik?
I'm ready for a big but, yeah.
Yeah. It's time for one of those quizzes. So Nathan said literally 10 seconds before, well, not 10 seconds, about 5 minutes before we started, he needed a jingle. And see, I don't think, the only thing I could find, I did a quick search for jingles and I found this one. And I don't think, this can be my question. This is my question. Can you tell what 80s quiz this jingle's from? I think Nathan and Joseph, it would be a miracle if you get it, but here's the introduction. Oh, no, that's the wrong one.
Oh, I know what that's from. I know.
Hold on. No,
it's my joke of the week.
Stop.
Is it a catchphrase?
It is catchphrase. Well done, Erik. I couldn't find it. I tried to find like a cheesy American 80s one, but all I literally had 2 minutes to find one, and all it came up with was 80s pop quizzes, but not jingles. So, but
I would have went with a Family Feud theme to give the family feel to the podcast.
Well, exactly. Yes. Well, that is. So, without further ado, Nathan, do you want to take it away?
Yes, I'm going to start with a practice round. Now, you're not going to get real points in this round, but it's just a little practice round to give you an idea of what kind of questions to expect. Okay. So I'm just going to start in alphabetical order. So Joseph, your last name starts with an H. So I'm going with you first. All right? Okay.
Sure.
So your question is, what is the 10th word in Justin's review for Driller Killer?
Oh, come on. Hang on. My name is Justin Kurzweil, and I'm reviewing Driller Killer. I'd say Driller.
No, it's Deal. All right. But don't worry. That was just a practice round. Okay. Hey, Justin.
Yes,
Your
Nathan.
question is, does Alice die in the Friday the 13th series?
Well, I can either sort of be truthful to myself and to the rest of the world, or I could lie to get points. So I'm going to say no, she doesn't.
Oh, Justin got that correct.
Thank you.
You don't get points though. It's just the practice round.
Oh, this is very true. Okay, Erik. In the Slumber Party Massacre, what's happening at exactly the 77-minute mark?
The end credits?
Oh, you got that right.
Woohoo!
All right. So that was your practice round, and I'm very impressed with you, Justin.
Thank you.
Because you sacrificed, like what you felt was true for those points.
Yeah. My principles and my dignity have been sacrificed, yes. But I think they've been sacrificed quite a few times on this podcast. So,
okay. All right. Okay. Now we're starting the official quiz. So get ready for Point City. All right. So I am starting with you, Joseph. This first one is a Jello round. Now, do you want door 1, 2, or tres?
Give me door number 1, please.
Okay. Tell me what movie this is, and I'm going to read the title in Italian. All right? It's Non si Savizia un Paperino.
Boy, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I'm brushed up on my faux Italian.
Faux?
Paperino. What is that? Read it one more time.
Non si Savizia un Paperino.
Savizia Paperino.
Paperino,
I have no
don't
idea.
Preach.
I have no idea. I'm just going to guess Savizia Paperino. Prom night?
I'm afraid that's incorrect. Justin?
Is it Don't Torture a Duckling?
That's correct. All right, Justin, you get the next one. Door 2 or 3?
Big number 2, please.
Okay. La Dama Rossa Ukid Sedi Volti.
It's like being back in old Mother Rome.
Yeah.
It's is it the Queen in Red kills 7 times?
That's correct. Do you know Italian? Because I'm going to have to stop doing this because it's a little skewed in your favor, isn't it?
Well, I don't know Italian. I just know I've seen quite a few gialli. And Rossa's
Eric,
not that difficult to guess, is it?
Yes.
You get door number 3.
I want door number 3, please.
Okay. La Morte Camina con I Taci Alti.
You sound like Stephen Hawking's voice computer thing. Can you say it again? Sorry.
All right, I'm going to say it with an Italian flair. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
La morte cammina con I tacchi alti.
7 deaths in the cat's eye?
I'm afraid that's incorrect.
Oh.
Joseph?
You may have to do that one more time.
All right. La morte cammina con I tacchi alti.
La morte. So that's death. Death walks on high heels.
Ah, that's correct.
Oh.
Did you know that one, Justin?
I did, yes, because alto is
high, yeah.
tall in Spanish, and death morte. So.
Alrighty. Okay, well, this next round, Justin, you get to go first, and this is just a generalized round. So, do you want 1, 2, or 3?
Can we just, before we do that, could we just do a countdown of where we are in the scores?
Okay, Justin has 2, Joseph has 1, and Eric has 0.
How did Justin get 2? Oh,
because he guessed Joseph's right and his own right.
Sorry.
That's okay, Eric. Don't worry. We understand. We've all been where you are at the moment.
It's okay. I'm in a happy place because Dirty Dancing's on with no sound in the background.
Okay.
Baby's just walking up to the house now.
Oh. Anyway, I'll have number 2. Number 2, please.
Number 2, okay. What slasher movie features a woman receiving her boyfriend's severed head in a red circular gift box?
X-Ray.
AKA?
A Hospital Massacre.
Okay, you got that right. I mean, I was going to give it to you on X-Ray, but I like the title Hospital Massacre.
Okay.
Eric, do you want door number 1 or 3?
I need a number 1.
Okay. What slasher movie features a character murdered by getting a hairpin stabbed into his ear?
A hairpin?
Mm-hmm.
Would that be Aerobicide?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh.
Joseph?
Hairpin in the ear. I was going to say Aerobicide too, but in the ear. Is it Friday the 13th?
No, I'm afraid not. Justin?
Yeah, this is going to be a wild stab in the dark, but is it Blood Sisters?
No. The correct answer is Savage Weekend. Joseph, you get door number 3.
Woo.
What slasher movie features clips from Graduation Day?
Oh, I know this. It's Night Screams.
Yes. All right.
Yay.
The next round
could you just do the scores
the countdown. Of course. All right. At the end of the second
I don't think I
round,
need to do it.
Justin has 3, Joseph has 2, and Eric has 0.
It's quite exciting, isn't it?
No.
Well, Eric, you get to pick first on this one. And this is a fun How Did They Die?
I want a big number 2.
Okay. Susie from Chopping Mall.
Ooh. Does she get lasered in the head and her head explodes?
No.
Oh.
Joseph?
Susie in Chopping Mall. Okay, it's not the girl gets lasered, so I'm going to say she's burnt to death?
Yes.
Yay.
Joseph, 1 or 3?
Yeah, stick with number 1, I guess.
All right. Tim from Intruder.
Tim from Intruder. Which one is Tim? Tim is the bad. He's the quote unquote bad guy. I think I could be wrong. No. Such nondescript names. I'm just going to say he's stabbed.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Was he the quote unquote bad guy?
No, he was the guy that was stabbed against the beer.
Okay. Yeah, blonde guy. I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So that leaves Justin, and you get number 3.
Okay.
Arab from Sleepaway Camp 3.
Arab goes down the toilet and drowned with shit.
No. Eric.
Does he get a firecracker in his mouth?
No. Joseph.
I think he gets Arab. Which one is Arab? Arab's a girl, isn't it?
I can't say.
I think Arab is a girl. She gets decapitated.
Yes, she does.
Yes, okay.
All right, at the end of round 3, Joseph has 5, Justin has 3, and Eric has 0.
Yeah, you can laugh all you want, Justin. You're not winning either.
No, but I would say it's a 3-horse race. But,
Eric losing is the greatest gift of all, isn't it? Just
at the round 4, Joseph, you get to start again. This is the singing round.
You have to sing.
So do you want door 1, 2, or 3?
Why break precedent? I'll stick with number 1.
Okay, you have to sing Summer in the City from Girls Night Out.
Okay, give me a second here. I know this.
Uh-huh.
Hot town, summer in the city, back of my neck getting dirt and gritty. Been down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk hotter than a match head.
Oh, very good. You got that right, by the way.
I only know that because it's also in Die Hard 3 with a vengeance.
Justin, 2 or 3?
Must be number 2, I think.
Okay. Heart of Glass from Just Before Dawn.
Okay. I was trying to think.
What?
No, I do know it. But said it was a gas, then he turned around at a heart of glass.
Oh my God.
Well, that's all right.
That's not the words.
That is the words, isn't it?
It is the words, yeah.
Once had a love and it was a gas, soon turned out he had a heart of glass.
Exactly.
Seemed like the real thing, only to find mutual mistrust, love's gone behind.
That's what I sang.
So I should... No, you didn't. You sang, la la, it's a gas, something heart of glass.
Well, that's still fine.
Keys, Louise.
Yeah.
Oh, Justin.
And it was so tuned.
Yeah.
Annie's Paul song from Halloween.
Yeah.
No, we've done that one before, but I still get a point for that. Thank you.
I don't think you should, and I think I've been pleased here. I have a sneaking suspicion that you've been in on...
Shall we?
I think the three of you have been in on something before this quiz started.
Oh,
well, you're about to disagree with that, Eric, because yours I think you're going to know. All right, so you're left with Sally's song from the Slumber Party Massacre Part 2.
Oh, God, how's the start? Well, I only have to say, Justin only sang 2 lines of that one.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to sing the whole song.
Want a lot of things that money can buy, but what I want most is a pie in the sky. What I want most is a pie in the sky.
You got that right.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good, all of you.
Thank you.
Voices of Angels, those ones.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going into round 5, and there's only 6 rounds. So this is the one before the last, the penultimate round. And this is going to be another fun How Did They Die? And Justin, you get to go first.
Well, big number 2's never let me down. Well, it has, but I'll go for that.
Oh, Lord. Debbie from the dorm that dripped blood.
Debbie. Debbie, she gets... I think it's Debbie who gets whacked with the nail-encrusted bat and has her head run over.
Well, I mean, you got it right, but she didn't get hit with a bat. She just got her head run over.
Yeah, so Justin gave 2 answers.
I thought she did get hit with the bat.
No, her dad
she
gets
doesn't.
hit with that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she gets her head run over anyway, so I got it right.
Hang on, you gave 2 answers. You could have just said, oh, she gets hit with a bat, she gets her head run over, she gets an axe in the head, and then she's boiled alive in boiling water.
No.
And then one of them might be right. Well, I'm going to give 17 answers when it's my turn.
I think Nathan, as my bandmate, I think he'll let me have that.
Give him half a point.
Eric.
Yes.
Door number
3.
1 or 3? 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Doreen in Splatter University.
She gets an axe in the head, she has her throat slit, she has her legs chopped off, she has her arms chopped off, she's stabbed in the heart, she's stabbed in the back, she's put into a blender, she's put into a washing machine, and then she's finally run over with a tractor.
Unfortunately, none of those answers were right.
Exactly. You got to take all his points away, please.
So we moved to Joseph.
She has her throat cut.
No. Justin.
That was one of the ones I said.
She doesn't have a hairbrush put down her throat, does she?
No.
No.
The correct answer is she's slashed across the forehead with a knife.
That
and
kills
enough to kill
you, would it?
No.
It does. It kills her somehow.
Could we have the rundown of the scores, please?
Well, actually, we got one more question.
One more question.
And I think it's
wait a minute. I didn't get a question in that.
Joseph. So Joseph, you get door number 1.
Take points off Justin for being a knob end.
A knob end.
Oh,
so
Erik.
Joseph, how does Tommy die in Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Tommy in Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can remember who Tommy is. Tommy is... Tommy.
Trying to say he was run over with a motorboat, you're wrong.
The killer is not named Tommy, I don't think. I'm going to say... This is just a wild guess. I'm going to say... he's thrown through a window?
Yes.
Oh.
Isn't this funny how Joseph's getting everything right?
After taking 5 minutes to Google.
I think that's a decoy. I think he's actually been in cahoots with Nathan because he sang all the words correctly to Somewhere in the City as well. So I am very
Everybody
suspicious.
knows that song, Eric.
Yes, I know, but it was just off quickly you said it.
it's and now we're going to come to the last round, and Joseph has 7, Justin has 5, and Erik has 1.
Right. Okay.
Only because
Hi.
You can still lose this one, Erik.
Well, Erik, you can start 1, 2, or 3.
I'm going to go for big number 2. Just like this quiz.
In Friday the 13th, which character suggests they play strip Monopoly?
It's Laurie Bartram's character, and she is called Brenda.
That is correct. Woo! Way to go. Joseph, do you want 1 or 3?
Number 1, please.
In Halloween, what book does Laurie forget at school?
Her biology book?
No. Justin?
Is it her history book?
No. Erik?
Chemistry.
Yes. Forgot my chemistry book. Okay, so that leaves, I believe it's there's only 1 question left. Who didn't get a
I didn't get a question.
So I'm ending with you, Justin.
Thank you.
So you get door number 3.
Okay.
According to Nancy's mother in Nightmare on Elm Street, why was Freddy not convicted of the child murders he committed when he was alive?
Oh, God, I've seen that movie so many goddamn times.
Sound like Drew Barrymore in Scream.
It was something, wasn't it something about, I can't remember exactly, but it was along the gist of they lost the paperwork, or some deputy somebody didn't dot an I or cross a T, and he got thrown out of court.
But what was the paperwork? Because she mentioned specifically what piece of paper it was that they did not sign correctly.
The arrest warrant.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you. What do you mean?
I'm surprised. I didn't think you were going to get it.
Oh, I thought it was a search warrant.
Isn't that the same thing?
No.
Yes, it is actually.
It's not the same thing.
Can we have the countdown, please?
No, it's not the same thing. It's a search warrant and an arrest warrant are completely different. What's this? Is that Celine Dion?
Her heart will go on.
No, it's Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, The Greatest Gift of All. This is Erik losing. Could we have a countdown of who won and who lost?
What, you
Joseph
lost?
ended with 7.
Yeah.
Justin ended with 6, and Erik ended with 3.
Well, it would have been 4 if you'd given me that Nightmare on Elm Street question that Justin got wrong.
You still have lost, though.
I still have lost. I would have got 4, and you would have had 5, though.
Yeah. Anyway,
it would have been a closer race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still the greatest gift of all. So thank you, Erik. Thank you.
I know
Nathan.
what was. Don't think I don't know what was going on behind my back.
Here we go.
Yeah.
It wasn't those pesky kids.
Yeah.
No, I would admit to it if I was pulling a prank like that, but
you were pulling a prank.
And if I was, then how come I gave you questions you got right?
Yeah, because it was a decoy. It made me think that it wasn't fixed.
I think you're giving me way too much credit. But that was an amazing quiz.
Yes, thank you very much, Nathan, for that little diversion. So, should we get things back on track?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Freddy's back in his most successful feature film ever. For 2 long years, they thought they'd buried Freddy, but he wasn't ready for the grave. Now the razor-sharp glove and razor-sharp tongue are back, thirsty for blood, and even more hungry for revenge. So the setup here is that the 3 survivors of Dream Warriors Part 3, Kincaid, Joey and Kristen, are quickly dispatched by Freddy, and before her demise, Kristen manages to pass her powers onto a new character called Alice, who's the nerdy shy girl who, as the film progresses, absorbs all the characteristics of her friends as they are dispatched by Freddy. I may have mentioned this one before, but Elm Street 4 was released in August of 1988 in the USA, and this was around the time I started buying Fangoria and Gorezone and Sam Hain and that. So I was reading about this film for a long time, waiting patiently for it to arrive in the southeast of Ireland. I was watching clips of it on a show. Justin, you may remember on ITV they had a show that used to count down the top 10 US box office. I think it was on sort of very late at night. So I was seeing the trailer and the clips for the film. Yeah, did you see it? Do you remember it?
That had, what's his name in, isn't it? Casey Kasem did the top 10.
I think it might have, yeah. And it used to be really good because back in the 80s, there would often be a huge sort of delay from films being released in the States to making their way over here, and not so much anymore, obviously. But anyway, for Dream Master, I waited, and I think it was almost a full year before it finally arrived in the summer of 1989 to my local cinema. So my expectations were really built up because the film looked amazing from what I've been reading about it. And I remember leaving the cinema that day thinking, well, the effects were spectacular, but I felt that the film was a bit empty and hollow. To put it another way, the film had absolutely no plot whatsoever. Dream Warriors had a decent storyline with a beginning, a middle, and an end, whereas this feels like it's missing an Act 1 and an Act 3. It's just an Act 2 all the way through. It feels incredibly rushed script-wise, even though the technical aspects of the film are really quite good. But there's huge problems with the script that I can never get over. One is like resurrecting Freddy using dog piss has to be one of the strangest decisions ever, even for a film that wallows in surrealism like the Elm Street series does. It's still a strange choice. Rick, who has to fight Invisible Freddy for absolutely no apparent reason. Why is Freddy invisible? Usually there's some sort of internal logic of some kind that would give him a reason to be invisible, but not in this case. And that Dream Master rhyme has to be the lamest way possible to kill off a movie villain. It's just ridiculous ending. And then there's the level of acting. Now, we've been discussing this before recording, but some of the line delivery in this would put the cast of Terror 10 Killer to shame. The fault lies partly, I suppose, in the script, which, as I said, is rushed and has really clunky dialogue. But Tuesday Night in particular, I have to single out. She's taking over the role of Kristen from Patricia Arquette, who played her in Part 3. And Tuesday Night, I'm afraid, she's just dreadful in the film, I think. But having said that, she's not alone. I mean, all the cast have one or two dodgy moments. There are some things I love about the film, though, I have to say. I love the characters of Debbie and Sheila, the Dynasty gym-loving fitness fanatic, the girl with the big hair who turns into a cockroach, as she's also known. And then Sheila is the nerdy science geek. And I like the way they're good mates, even though in any other teen movie they'd be kind of mortal enemies. And as is the case, like, these two supporting characters are perhaps, more interesting than our main character, Alice. Although I do kind of like her, but she's a bit bland at times, I think. And Sheila and Debbie get the best death scenes as well. Sheila is... she suffers from asthma, so Freddy, he does that famous "you want to suck" face scene, and of course Debbie gets turned into the cockroach. And I also like the scene where Freddy's at the beach. That provided something new for this franchise. I also like that when Joey is discovered trapped in a waterbed, and yet no one seems to question how he got there. It reminded me, there's a scene in Dream Warriors where the girl gets dragged headfirst into a television screen, and she's about 15 feet off the ground, and nobody sort of questions, well, how did that happen? Also, there's a really hilarious scene where Alice is practicing using nunchucks, and they use a stunt double for her from the shots from behind, and it's obviously somebody completely different, or a bloke in a wig. It just looks nothing like Lisa Wilcox. So overall, since 1989, which is nearly 30 years ago, my opinion hasn't really changed. The script is all over the place. The plot has no momentum, and things just seem to happen without rhyme or reason. It really is a case of them trying to ape the formula of Dream Warriors, but just focusing on the effects that made that film such a success and nothing else. But I do like it. I mean, there's plenty in there that I do like. I just feel the film feels a bit flat to me. And if I was to be honest, I think I prefer Dream Child, which is the next episode in the series, but we'll get onto that, on the next Elm Street visit. This was the most financially successful of the Elm Streets at the time, and I think that has more to do with Part 3 being pretty darn good than it has with Dream Master being any good. I think it was riding on the coattails of Dream Warriors. I think the poor opening for Part 5 gives a better indication of what people really thought about Part 4, to be honest. So yeah, it's a marginal thumbs up. I'd give this maybe a 6 out of 10. I find it probably more... I'd tend to go back to it more than I would to Dream Warriors, only because of the fact that I watched Dream Warriors to death back in the 80s. Anyway, I'm going to hand this over to somebody I think may have similar-ish feelings, and that is you, Joseph.
Well, this was definitely the turning point for Freddy from, creepy boogeyman with a sardonic sense of humor into kind of full-on Rodney Dangerfield, the marketable boogeyman. I hadn't seen this since the early 90s, so I was actually looking forward to revisiting the film, but it really didn't work for me, I'm afraid. I think the director, Rennie Harlin, who he helmed my favorite of the Die Hard films, Part 2, I think he does a really good job of making the dream sequences kind of pop. But the film as a whole feels like an extended music video. I mean, it feels like its aim is to sell a soundtrack rather than to tell a competent Freddy story. I mean, the sparse moments we get with Freddy are kind of far removed from the sinister presence of the previous 3 films, in my opinion. And we're basically saddled with a bunch of very stiff actors trying to carry what I saw was more of a teen angst / music video disguised as a nightmare film. And it just feels kind of drab and lifeless and ultimately just hollow. For my money, Jason Voorhees is still my go-to mainstream slasher because, at least for 7 or 8 films, he was pretty consistent on giving me what I wanted. The Nightmare films are just kind of all over the place for me. And I think Part 4 was pretty much when I stopped caring. I don't think this is as bad, if my memory serves me correctly, as the next couple of entries in the series, because it does have some pretty impressive imagery and effects work. I don't know, but it just doesn't exactly stand up on the shelf next to the 3 that preceded it either. I think by this point, Freddy had become almost too mainstream, and as such, his power to frighten was kind of watered down in favor of, basically selling lunch boxes or mass-produced toys. I mean, I even remember the sort of the family-friendly 1-900 number you could call that came out about around the same time as this came out. It's basically you could call and, despite getting a large phone bill after, you could hear pre-recorded messages from Freddy saying he's coming for you, And I guess there's a certain charm in, basically turning a child killer into this sort of safe, marketable, approachable, consumable product. But in a filmic sense, I think it makes very little. At least to me. I prefer the darker Freddy, if I'm honest, and watching this film was just a staunch reminder of that. So a thumbs down for me, I'm afraid.
Ooh, harsh. Nathan.
Oh, I love it.
You're our voice of positivity.
Yes, I love this movie. I think it's so much fun. It's really not great, as far as like being just a great horror film like the first Nightmare on Elm Street or Dream Warriors or Halloween. But I thought it was a lot of fun. I was never bored during it. I liked, all the characters. I did have kind of an issue with them killing off the Dream Warriors like so early because that's what kind of made it feel so rushed for me. I think if they would have integrated the 3 surviving Elm Street characters into this group of friends more, and I think it could have made the movie work even better for me than just killing the 3 off so quickly. And then, Freddy, I guess, had his banquet and Kristen was, the last course.
She certainly was.
It's just an awful, awful thing. But I thought it was interesting, the idea of Alice having, Kristen's like power in her dream, and then Freddy kind of uses her to get the other victims. I thought that was an interesting idea. And I love Debbie's death scene. I think it's a lot of fun. And they also this was before Groundhog Day. And Alice and Dan have that little moment where they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again before finally realizing, we're going in circles. So,
like Bryan Adams records.
Yeah, it predates Groundhog Day. So I'm like, I wonder if the makers of Groundhog Day saw Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and was like, that could make a good like feature-length film. I'm onto something here.
I think you might be.
Okay, but
is it
from
green
all that fun,
and fit in a pipe?
Huh?
Mm-hmm. No, nothing.
I think he's making
you
drugs
talking about pipe. How dare you, Justin? But I love all the characters in it. The death scenes are so much fun. I like Erik was saying, I think it's hysterical that, Joey's body is found inside a waterbed. Like, what is going on here? You think about it, some of the other death scenes, when Sheila dies, well, in reality, they're seeing her suffer an asthma attack. So it looks like that's how she died. But how do you explain finding your kid inside a waterbed it's not even cut open or anything? He's just inside of it.
Yep.
I'm
Exactly.
like, okay, so there's something weird. Well, and it's like part 1 of Nightmare on Elm Street. Nancy's boyfriend, Glenn, he gets eaten by a bed. How do they explain that? A big hole opened up in his bed and he got massacred inside his mattress. It blurs the lines of believability in Nightmare on Elm Street, which I think is a very believable movie series already, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, and I agree with what Joseph was saying, that Freddy just becomes more of his full-on jokey self in this movie. But what can I say? I loved it when I was a kid, and watching it today, I didn't find it scary whatsoever, but I thought it was really, really amusing. I will say I didn't like Rick's scene, like you were saying earlier about Freddy being invisible during the whole scene. I'm like, it just felt so cheap. I'm like, you could have had a better death scene, with all the fun dream sequences that could have been done.
It almost felt like Robert Englund, maybe he couldn't done the karate stunt work needed, so they just kind of winged it that way. They should have at least got a stunt man, maybe.
Yeah, if they can get a stunt person for Alice just flipping nunchucks, they could have got one for Freddy.
Oh no! Can you imagine what kind of stuntman they would have got? Freddy, if that's the best they could do for a stunt double for Alice.
And sometimes, and somebody mentioned this on Facebook, but sometimes when I'm getting ready for work, I imagine the music that's playing when Alice is getting ready to fight Freddy. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm bad.
Fucking A.
Yeah. I say effing A, though, because I think that without saying the word, it's just so much more powerful. I don't know why. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, thumbs up. I would probably give it, I would say an 8 out of 10. So, good. Yeah.
Now, the one person I don't know what your opinion is at all on this, Justin, is you. So take it away.
Well, my shocking revelation is this is the first time I've ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I know. I shocked myself. I was watching it and thinking, I don't remember any of this. And I was thinking I must have just blocked it out. And I saw it back in the day in VHS and I don't remember it. And I was watching it. And about halfway through, I realised I'd never seen it before.
Wow.
And which really surprised me because I always presumed I'd seen it. Because I remember even going to see Freddy's Dead at the cinema. And obviously I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 2, I think, at the cinema. And I remember seeing, I'm very well versed in Dream Warriors. But like you, Erik, I was getting all Fangorias and Gore Zones and Toxic Horror and all those kind of magazines that were coming out in the late 1980s. So I remember seeing all the gore effects and all the articles about all the special effects work and prosthetics and all that kind of thing. So I just kind of assumed I'd seen it, and watching it, I realised this was the first time that I'd ever seen the movie. So that once I got over the shock, I thought, well, let's sit back, and it is exactly what I thought it would be. But I quite enjoyed it for what it was. I think possibly because I hadn't seen it before, so it was all new to me. Whereas I found sort of Dream Warriors was a bit like putting a pair of comfy old slippers on, but a pair of slippers that I don't enjoy wearing as much as, say, the first two films, if that makes sense. Very bad comparison, but. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think it's definitely Freddy's not scary by any stretch at this point. And you can tell, it's veering into that late 80s. Well, it is kind of very archetypically late 80s kind of horror, where it kind of starts to take things into kind of. I mean, the Nightmare on Elm Street series has always been kind of like slightly fantasy based, and certainly in Part 3 they took that even more so. But in this one, it was kind of that. Pop video aesthetic was very much kind of up to the fore, like many of the kind of slasher horror movies of the late 80s, where you had a lot of neon, you had a lot of kind of, you started getting the pop culture references. And so, but I thought I thought the action sequences were very well done. It's a shame they didn't pay more attention to the script. I think you probably hit the nail on the head, Erik, when you said it was probably very much rushed, because I think this of course in the late 80s was the time where they were pumping out a sequel to the big franchises, well, namely Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street as one a year. So I think they probably all came out in August or, the same time each year. And so I think the script seemed to suffer. The dialogue wasn't great. Some of the acting was a bit iffy, but the special effects I thought were really good, especially the hair, the girl with the big hair who turns into a cockroach. I thought that that was kind of lip-smackingly good 80s special effects. Kind of in so much practical special effects. The scene where the camera zooms down like this kind of hellish kind of corridor, well, not corridor, but like a tunnel with all the faces screaming. That was really well done, and I really like the scene where Alice is in the cinema and late 80s, the 80s, after Demons and Anguish and all these kind of films, had a bit of a love affair with the cinema and sort of tipping that on its head and having scenes set at the flicks. And I thought that was really well done when she tumbles into the black and white movie. I thought the special effects there were really well done. It was just well done. One thing I didn't really understand. I mean, we'll get onto some background. I know we won't go into massive amounts of it, but why the Kirsten character didn't come back, and so much which she came back, but didn't come back as Patricia Arquette. But given that, when you had Tuesday Night, who would have just been brought in for this movie, it seemed a bit odd why this idea of passing the baton onto another group of teenagers when they could have done that at the end of the movie, perhaps. So it seems strange, unless they... the thing is, the Nightmare on Elm Street films, if you've ever read the autobiography by Robert Englund about Freddy Krueger, they're incredibly cheap. They were done on the cheap. I mean, they poured a lot of money into the special effects, but they certainly didn't want to spend money on, on sort of any luxuries for the cast and crew, or probably any wages for the cast and crew. So I imagine the reason that they jettisoned most of the Dream Warriors at the beginning of the movie is because they didn't want to pay them for, to have them in the rest of the movie and get some kind of fairly unknown or relatively unknown sort of actors and actresses to come in for this. So that was a shame, but all in all, I enjoyed it. It was gaudy, colourful, silly, inventive, all the kind of things I'm going to guess you want from a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. And I'm trying to think now, racking my brains, whether or not I saw Dream Child. I'm not sure if I did, but we'll find out one day. But I know I certainly...
Lucky you.
Yeah. Well, I know I certainly
I kind of like it.
Well, I can remember all the special effects from that, again from the magazines, but whether I actually saw it, I can't remember. I know I had the misfortune of seeing Freddy's Dead at the theatre with the 3D glasses for the big 3D reveal at the end. So
that 3D was good, though.
I don't remember it being good. I remember it being like
parts of it were very good, I thought, but parts
it looked like it was shooting out of the screen right in your face.
I thought it just looked like a couple of turds having a fight.
Well, I wouldn't know what that looks like.
Like Mr. Hanky.
Yeah, Mr. Hanky having a fight in very shonky 3D to give you a headache, but again, we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a revelation to me in so much that I hadn't actually seen it. So, but I think they probably, if they'd kind of taken a couple of years off, or they'd paid a bit more mind to the script and the characterization, then it probably would have been a better movie. But thumbs up from me. I think not something I'm going to be in any great hurry to come back and revisit, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Okay, will we go into some background then?
Yeah, we can touch on some background.
Nathan, take it away.
No. Brooke Thies. Yeah, I don't know how to say her name, but she was in Just the 10 of Us with Heather Langenkamp that played Nancy, because I used to watch that show when I was a kid, and it was so good.
She was in Beverly Hills 90210 as well for maybe half a dozen episodes or so, playing a sorority house, the head of a sorority house.
Was she mean?
No, she was very nice. And she was very nice to Andrea Zuckerman was the pledge. So,
was it 1920?
No.
Okay, but that's the background I got.
Okay, Joseph.
Well, I've got the Never Sleep Again set here, so I'm gonna rattle through the entire set. So hold on to your hats. Actually, I'm not. I typically don't do background for these big event movies, so none for me.
Okay, but Justin, do you have anything?
Just a few things. I mean, I read, as per usual, IMDb can be wildly contradictory sometimes with some background, but I was interested in why Patricia Arquette didn't come back for the role of Kirsten. That I was reading, someone said it was because she was pregnant, but then some pointed out that she would have either not been pregnant when they made the film or very early pregnancy, and she didn't really actually have to do a massive amount of stunts in the film. So I imagine it may have been a case of Amy Steele in Friday the 13th Part 2 coming back for Part 3, where her agent said, actually, you've done one of these films, you don't want to maybe continue down that vein. So, but I don't know, has Patricia Arquette ever actually been interviewed about this film?
I don't know if she's ever been interviewed for Dream Warriors, to be honest. No.
So maybe she didn't have a great time making it. I don't know. But Rennie Harlin, I mean, again, it's difficult to know what to believe, but apparently, from what I read, was his first cut of the movie was deemed to be too ridiculous and too campy, which seems slightly strange. So apparently, and again, whether or not this is true, there were lots of bits that cut out of the movie, which you can see little snippets of in the trailer. I did notice, I watched the trailer, I've got like a really old, I haven't even got a Blu-ray of this, I've got an old DVD box set that came out a long time ago, and I watched one of the trailers, and I noticed there's a few differences, like for instance when Alice falls into the movie screen, it's in colour rather than black and white, and a few other bits and pieces were like slightly different, but that's not, that's certainly not the first time a trailer's got bits in it that don't make the film. Bob Shea was he appeared as the professor in one of the scenes, talking about as it's almost de rigueur, isn't it, in like the teen slasher horror movies in the 1980s, to have a professor pop up and tell you a little bit, explain a little bit about plot points and dream mythology or psychosis or whatever it is, psychology. But in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it was, of course, Lynn Shay, wasn't it? Played the teacher in the first film. So, of course, Bob Shea was the head of New Line, aka the house that Freddie built. Trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, sure, I'll hand it over to you, Erik.
Okay, well, the script we were saying feels a bit rushed, and there was kind of a reason for that, is that there was a writer's strike at the time, so they had to go ahead and start filming with a spec script, more or less, written by Brian Helgeland. So they're working with this bare bones script that Rennie Harlin was kind of improvising on top of while they were shooting. So that's why the film is kind of all over the place that way. You were mentioning the cockroach scene as being kind of a standout in terms of the special effects, and that's I would agree as well. That effect scene was handled by Screaming Mad George. There was a whole different array of the cream of the crop of effects artists working on Elm Street 4. There was John Carl Buechler and the KNB guys working on there as well, and Steve Johnson. I discovered doing my research that I share a birthday with Tuesday Night. She's exactly 5 years older than me, and I'm a better actor. The other thing, all the nunchuck scenes were cut from the original UK release, which was par for the course at the time. They would not show nunchucks at all in any film, including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where I think they were using sausages as a set of nunchucks, and even that was cut out of the film. The Wheat Brothers worked on it under the pseudonym of Scott Pierce. They also wrote The Fly 2, Silent Scream, Pitch Black, and they also wrote and directed the 1989 anthology After Midnight, which I know was a big favourite of Nathan and Joseph's. Yes?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Great anthology.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about Chopping Mall earlier, I think, in part of that stupid quiz. Rodney Eastman, who plays Joey, had a cameo in that as a shoplifter, apparently. I'd have to go back and have a rewatch to spot him. But he's also in the reboot of I Spit on Your Grave. And Andros Jones, who plays Rick, was also in the film that Justin can never remember the title of properly. Justin, it's the one that starts with Sorority Babes. Can you complete the title?
Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl-Bowl-orama.
Slime Bowl-Bowl-orama. You were close, though. You're closer than you usually are.
Yeah, that was really close.
Yeah. That's probably about all I have. I mean, Rennie Harlan, this was his second English language film. He'd impressed them with his film Prison from the year before, which was it's a pretty decent movie. It's not one I'd really rewatch over and over again, but it's kind of the gaudy, flashy effects extravaganza that would attract the sort of Elm Street producers, I suppose. So yeah, and I thought this was the most successful at the box office of all the Elm Street films up until Freddy vs. Jason. And now we'd covered Freddy vs. Jason on the last podcast, and I would have to say that The Dream Master is about 40,000 times better than Freddy vs. Jason. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but I certainly would prefer it. I mean, where would you rank it in relation to Freddy vs. Jason, everyone?
I'd say I like Freddy vs. Jason just a little more.
Okay.
Not much.
Nathan?
I like The Dream Master probably a bit much more than Freddy vs. Jason.
Justin, what did you think?
I don't know. I think it depends what kind of mood I'm in.
What mood are you in right now?
Pissy. No, I think they're kind of a little bit chalk and cheese. They're a very different beast, aren't they? If I'm probably in the mood now after watching Nightmare on Street 4 for like late 80s cheesy horror, so I'd probably plump for that now.
Oh yeah, I would much prefer. Oh, I'm just realizing that Toy Newkirk, who plays Sheila in the film, the asthmatic science nerd, she was also in an episode of Beverly Hills 90210 under her new name, Toy Monique Newkirk. There you go.
That sounds like somebody on Drag Race, doesn't it?
It does a bit, doesn't it? I've never known that. Well, I wonder if Toy is short for Toya. I wonder if she's Toya Newkirk.
Well, it must have been a minorly popular name in the 80s.
Sorry?
Must have been sort of a minorly popular name in the 80s. A few people that were, who gave birth in asylums might have given their daughters that name.
Hey,
I do know when I'm listening to Toya, I feel like I'm choking to death.
Oh, Erik.
I mean, so bullied recently on this podcast.
Well, as the resident quiz winner, I get to bully anyone I want.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, I don't think that's true. All the quizzes I've won in the past, I didn't go around bullying people.
What do you mean?
Oh, come on.
Oh, you can't call me a bully.
Oh, Erik.
Yeah. Erik even goes off the handle when he wins. He's a sore winner, actually.
Well, Eric's especially sore because he came in the rear this time. So, is anything else on?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is an inconsistency in this movie, and maybe
Surely
even
not.
in Dream Warriors too. And it's always something that's kind of weighed on my mind very much. It's the fact that I don't know if I necessarily buy that Kristen's mother would have tracked Freddy down and burned him along with other parents, because she just don't seem like the mother that would give a crap about any of this.
No, on delay.
Yeah, she's more concerned with, hooking up and her fur coats and stuff. I just don't see her burning like that guy, so I don't know if I buy that.
True.
What do you guys think of Kristen's mother? Do you think that she's mean, or is she misunderstood?
I think that she's the mother of Tiffany Helm, who played the breakdancing girl in Friday the 13th Part 5. In real life, she is. Brooke Bundy is her name.
I think Erik is the Kristen's mother of the podcast.
That's Justin.
I know.
He always has a bottle of whiskey in his hand.
Well, I wouldn't be wearing a fur coat, Erik.
Well, that's true, but you'd have the drink.
No. One of you will get 50 points added to your quiz if you can tell me right now what's Kristen's mother's first name.
Oh.
Nancy.
No.
I know it.
Sue.
Okay.
It's Denise.
No.
Toya.
Barbara.
It's Jan.
No.
Jan, where do you keep the bourbon? What is it?
It's not Jan. No.
Sheila.
All right, then I'm gonna win. It's Elaine.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Elaine. Where'd you keep the bourbon?
What is she? Some chain smoking stenographer from New York?
Still Sharon.
Oh.
That's a Seinfeld reference, just in case.
Whoosh. Yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah,
No.
I thought it whooshed you and Justin.
Yeah, I've never watched Seinfeld. Sorry, even though it has Jason Schwing Alexander in it.
Well, you better get to work.
Do you like Jason Alexander?
Oh yeah.
Well, there's one episode where he does an erotic photo shoot. Eric.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the stills. That's all I need to see.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry, I have it covered. Literally.
Well, I hope so. Right. Well, shall we move on to what our dear listeners thought of the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4? Joseph, have you got some feedback for us from the forums?
Yes, a lot of it. Here we go. Stephen Symington says, my second favorite after Part 1, of course. The image of Freddy in the coin pond at the end was creepy. Wes Ray says, I love the movie, but the current Warner Brothers Blu-ray is mostly unwatchable. So many scenes are ruined by being far too dark, and because a process called Black Crush was applied during the transfer, simply increasing the brightness on your TV will not help any. I actually had the privilege to see an original 35mm print of the movie in a theater a couple of years ago, and can confirm that the current Blu-ray is not at all how the movie was supposed to look. We can only hope that with their apparent new deal with Warner Brothers, that Scream Factory may be able to release a new Nightmare series box set with updated and correct restorations for all the films. Maybe Scream Factory could even include the long-lost work print version of Nightmare 4 as a bonus feature. Well, you better write to Scream Factory, Wes Ray, because I can't do anything for you, Wes Ray. The only thing I can do, Wes Ray, is move on to Brennan Klein, Wes Ray. And Brennan Klein says, I honestly love this movie. It's goofy and chintzy and loud, but the visual metaphor of Alice taking her friend's pictures off the mirror until she can only see herself, I find to be very powerful. Self-actualization and karate headbands for the win. Miles Hamer says, probably the most generic and typical of the whole series. Not necessarily a bad thing for that. It's merely an above-average teen slasher with a charismatic killer, forgettable victims, and a glossy veneer. The roach death is brilliantly done, if utter nonsense, 6 out of 10. Tamia Kwan says, love. Alice's kung fu fight with Freddy was awesome. Sheila deserved better. Also stellar moment with the Dramarama song in front of the mirror as Alice discovers she can use nunchucks whilst wearing a wig so horrid it rivals Jamie Lee's in Halloween 2 or Jennifer Beals' stunt doubles in Flashdance. Great pick. Robert Trippett says, they had me at the dog pissing fire. Mike Alishan says, I love this movie so much. Anyone that says otherwise will see the most fearsome hybrid of Toya and Rhubarb Lady that you can ever imagine. Eric will run. Nathan will squeal. It will be a new nightmare. Antonio Astris Joseph Arkikovic. I guess it's two people. I think this is two people using a joint Facebook account, so which one of you cheated? Anyway, this is definitely my favorite of the franchise. Freddy is in tip-top shape here. His one-liners are witty but never goofy. The special effects are amazing, especially the girl turned into a cockroach scene.
With
the songs... Yeah. Is that the movie we just covered? The one with the girl who gets turned into Allendale? So. Anyway. She's turned into Allendale. The songs in it are great as well. Some of the acting is a bit dry, and the lack of Patricia Arquette will always be a bummer, but it still holds a special place in my heart. Lawrence Adams says, loved it as a kid, but it's the beginning of the rapid decline in quality for the series, in my opinion. Let's see, where am I? Tom Virtuoso, he says, Nightmare 4 ranks as my favorite sequel. There's something about the surreal atmosphere, score, characters, and attention to dream sequences that still sticks with me. I always think of Alice preparing for a battle every time I get dressed for work or to go out in general.
I hear you, man.
Mm-hmm. Nerd anecdote. The summer it hit HBO, my neighbors asked me to tell Tell the film using an Etch-a-Sketch on a drive to Six Flags. It took 45 minutes just to do the intro sidewalk sketch, sans Kristen. Etch-a-Sketch. I remember those. Chad Hemsley says, my bullet point summing up this film. Too flashy. Freddy no longer frightening. Still quite fun, though. Lisa Wilcox hottie, and I'm driving. So you probably shouldn't do posting on our thing while you're driving. That's not a good thing to be doing.
He's quoting the movie.
I think he's quoting the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he might have been driving. See, I've already
the loop sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, I've already forgotten the movie, so there you go. Let's see. Vaughn Colmier says dull, boring, the characters, the story. After the first one, they just kind of all don't really work for me. Nick Yeomans, he says, for me, this was where they all started to blur together, at least until New Nightmare. I still enjoy the films, and this is certainly not as wacky as Freddy's Dead, but I'm a Jason guy, so the series always comes in second. I would agree there, Nick.
Me too.
I would agree. Dave Rendon says, I remember thinking they were getting back on track with this entry. I was wrong. Given an upstart director and a decent cast. Decent, yeah. Speaking of the cast, bad late 80s television fans will connect Brooke Theiss and Heather Langenkamp with the Growing Pains spinoff called Just the 10 of Us, and I think Nathan mentioned that earlier. John Matthews says, my favorite entry of the series. This is when the series took a turning point, for better or worse, depending on who you ask. Likeable characters, rocking soundtrack, and brilliant direction from the great Rennie Harlan. As a kid, this is my favorite entry because of how rewatchable it was. Recently went through the Elm Streets on Blu-ray, and this one still stood up. I must have worn out the tape. That's how much I hired our local CBS Fox VHS. Warren Money says, this was the first Elm Street that I saw in the cinema and is still my favorite. I was a massive Kiss fan, and Vinnie Vincent's Invasion was a part of the extended Kiss family, so having them on the soundtrack got me excited. There is 2 Aussie songs on the soundtrack, and it features the best Australian song ever, Under the Milky Way. Under the Milky Way, yeah. The time was right. Magazines, posters, Freddy was everywhere when this came out, and it was a great time to be a teenager. Jenny Hall Cameron says, let's see, back up here. Of all the Nightmare movies, this one probably sticks out the most for me because of my age. I was in 7th grade when it came out, and nothing to do with quality, but more about availability. I have seen this one the most. This Nightmare was the best in incorporating dreams really well. I really wish there was a way in the script to have one of the surviving 3, Kristen, Kincaid, or Joey, last longer and be a guide to the newer kids. It would be something if after all these years Patricia Arquette would say, I just didn't do it because Kristen dies so early. When I went to Texas Frightmare a couple of years ago, the first celebrity I met was Brooke Theiss, and I thought about you guys. The killing of Andres Jones will always be the most bullshit of all Freddy deaths because they didn't even bother to have Freddy in the scene. Anyway, I'm happy you are doing this one. I'm smiling typing this. Stefan Mittender, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. This is where it all went downhill for me. I recently rewatched the first 5 Nightmare on Elm Street films, and the dip in quality from 3 to 4 is steep. I can see how people can have fond memories of it, but I didn't even like it as a kid. Too goofy and too focused on special effects. Not sure even Patricia Arquette could have saved this one. John Blasik says, it's okay, it just feels a bit too MTV for my liking, but decent body count and some cool effects with an awesome finale. Alice is a great final girl, but it's a shame the Dream Warriors from the previous films are dispatched so quickly. David Assassino says, snuck into this one when I was 11 by buying a ticket to Tucker, the Man in His Dream. That's the Jeff Bridges movie. For that reason, we should have covered that one. For that reason alone, it holds a special place in my heart. The story is borderline incomprehensible, but it has some of the coolest visual set pieces of the series that actually take advantage of dream logic, such as the girl with the poofy hair that turns into a cockroach. Is that this movie we're talking about?
I think so.
Is this the one where the... Anyway, I wish Patricia Arquette would have returned, and this would have been a true sequel to Dream Warriors, following Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid as they tried to adjust back to real life and recruiting new Dream Warriors to battle the return of Freddy. Still like the Tuesday night running from this nightmare theme song, though. Finally, R.R. Alishan says, in the immortal words of the great Irish philosopher Erik Threlfall, isn't this the one where the girl with the really big hair turns into a giant cockroach?
It is indeed.
Yes, and I think we can retire that joke after this episode.
Oh, please. We don't retire any jokes on this show.
I'll take that up with
we
Allendale.
still are talking about Allendale, and
we always will.
And Rawhead
all
Rat.
honest. Well, that's more of a behind-the-scenes thing. In all honesty, I never really got over the recasting of Patricia Arquette. Having said that, The Dream Master is still probably my fourth favorite entry in the franchise, just a notch below the 3 with Heather Langenkamp. And that's it for all the feedback.
Wow, well, thank you.
Can I just say one bit of background I forgot to mention, and it relates to the Andras Jones scene, is that he had a more elaborate death originally involving the elevator. That scene was supposed to be extended. But at the last minute, there was some budgetary problems, and they had to do a real cheap sequence to kill him off, and that's why he fights Invisible Freddy. Shot in one afternoon and written on the fly, so it looks it as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, thank you, Erik, and thank you to everyone who wrote in. Always great to hear from you. And this is how to get in contact with the show.
The content of this podcast was provided by Justin Kurzweil, Erik Frillfall, Nathan Johnson, and Joseph Henson. If you enjoy our program and are willing and able to provide a donation, please visit us on Patreon and become a content-designated subscriber. That's patreon.com/The Hysteria Continues. For non-subscriber PayPal donations and general feedback, our address is the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com. To listen and interact, simply search for The Hysteria Continues on iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Susie versus Toya forever.
Yes, and thank you to everyone who signed up to the Patreon. We will have a new Patreon. Well, I'm trying to think. Will we have a new Patreon by the time this goes out?
It'll be a little, maybe around the same time or a little after.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Well, we are covering the new Patreon will be Nathan's pick, which, if you remind us, Nathan?
Yes, it is about the evils of the night.
There's lots of naked ladies in that film. I watched the first half hour so far. There's a lot of naked ladies.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
It's all something, yeah.
Yeah. So that's coming up, and we'll be letting you know what we're going to be covering on the main podcast in a little bit. But before we do, do we want to do an after the credits? Given there is a sequel,
we already know, right?
Well, we kind of know, don't we? So. Shall we just jump straight into the highlight of Erik's week?
Yes.
Yes.
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
How did the act?
Oh, Nathan. So Joseph, give him a chance.
As the quiz winner, I'm allowed to do that.
Okay.
How did the actress who plays Sheila get a job on the Starship Enterprise? Because she knew Kirk. The actress's name is Toy Newkirk. She knew Kirk. That's how she got a job on the Starship Enterprise.
I never watched Star Trek. So.
You know he's called Captain Kirk.
All right, I know it. And I also know one is called John Luke Pickard.
It's Gene Luck Pickard.
It sounds like a good night.
The airplane crashed on Erik's joke.
Is Erik still there?
Erik, you are life's little loser.
This is so harsh.
No, Erik, it's the taking part that counts. Right. Well, that was A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. And we will be coming back to, the Elm Street universe at some point in the near future, I imagine. But
I completely forgot to say at the top of the show that we were supposed to have a special guest who had to drop out because of recording on Easter Sunday. But we hope to have him back for when we cover The Dream Child.
Was that Jesus?
Was it Jesus? Yeah, it was Jesus. He was busy doing his Easter thing. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, but yes, we will hopefully have our special guest back for the next one, if not before. But for next time, it's going to be Joseph's pick. So, what are you going to be picking for us, Joseph?
Well, there's still a couple of Alishan picks left from the listener picks, so I'm going with Michael Alishan's pick of Torso.
Ooh, me likey.
Torso. So back to Giallo, mid-1970s.
I'm a Torso.
Hey, I know the alternate wording in Italian for this. It's tahi bodies so signes of carnal violence.
Is that not Japanese?
Yeah, I
know.
No, I hear that in that movie, bodies actually show signs of carnal violence.
Well, exactly. I say, do you know what the translates as?
Do you know what it's called in France? Le torso.
Le torso.
So
like
if you want to hear
Eric,
intricate background knowledge on the exclusive background details on Sergio Martino's torso, like you've just heard, but more so, then tune in next time on Hysteria Continues.
Eric, you know that when I do the intro for Torso, I'm going to have to include, I'm a torso.
Oh, I would expect nothing less.
So, yes, well, anything else left to say? Well, actually...
Is this the movie where the girl turns into a cockroach?
The girl with the big hair. Not just any girl.
What we playing out with, Eric?
You know she's cool. You know she's cool because she dresses like the Fawns.
And she watches Dynasty. Or Dynasty, I think they call it, yeah.
What are we playing out with, Eric?
Okay, well, there's a plethora of songs to choose from the soundtrack, but I've gone, as an Irishman, I've gone for Sinead O'Connor singing I Want Your Hands on Me, I think it's called.
Is that on the soundtrack?
It is.
Oh, okay, I didn't realise that. Okay.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm not.
Is it the song Put 'em on
I've never
Me?
seen it before, had I?
All right, yeah, it's the song that plays during the
Put 'em on, put 'em on, put 'em on, mate. It's that
the workout scene with Debbie and what's her name, and then also it plays over the end credits as well.
Okay.
Did you know that there's a really good scene in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 when like her barbells like they reflect, and at one point when they raise back up, Freddy's in the reflection.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Having never seen the movie, I didn't notice that.
Well, you might not have been paying attention.
Ooh. Woo!
Because you said you was bored, didn't you? Did you say you were bored?
Yeah, it bored.
He's got all high pitched. Only dogs can hear you now, Monica.
Well, could we just to take us out?
Listen how much of a bully Eric is. He's such a bully.
Nathan, just to take us out, could you do a roll call of the who won and who lost big?
If you dare.
On the quiz.
Joseph ended with 7.
No,
Justin with 6, and Eric with 3, and I ended up with 50.
Put your hands on me. Ooh.
So actually, I won.
Technically, I should end with 8, but I'll take 7, I guess.
You didn't get the Nightmare on Elm Street 4 question right about Kristen's mom.
That was a penis joke, by the way.
I don't get it.
Do I?
No, neither do I.
8. I should have ended with 8.
No, I still don't get it. No.
Hold on.
It's still over my head.
Yeah.
God, I have an 8-inch penis there.
Oh.
That's the joke. That's the joke. I have to explain my jokes to you, Eric.
Was that even a joke? I don't know if it falls into the category of joke.
No.
Just ask all the
more like a statement.
I think it's probably best to draw a veil over this. For all concerned.
Ask all the ladies I've dated lately, Eric.
Sorry?
And they'll tell you. Just ask all the ladies I've dated lately, Eric, and they'll tell you it was no joke.
So you've been listening to the Hysteria Continues. Say goodbye to the good people.
And just because I won the quiz, I'm going to dig up Bob Hoskins and defile his corpse in front of you.
I don't care. I might actually get a little thrill out of watching that.
Oh, Eric.
Sicko.
Okay.
Yep. This podcast really went off the rails here at the end.
It's
like the Elm Street series in a nutshell.
I talked about unearthing a corpse, and you take it there. My God, Eric.
So do you think this is our kind of jumping the shark moment? It's kind of jumping Bob Hoskins' grave?
We've jumped the Allendale.
We have.
We can't come back from this.
Well, I could start speaking in my British accent to class it up a little bit.
Oh, but that's your That's the Patreon perk. If people want to hear you speaking.
Oh, if they want me to be British, I got to do it on Patreon only.
Yeah.
Wait till I cover Evils of the Night, where the 2 lesbian nurses let a patient escape.
Once we get to 5,000 Patreon subscribers, Nathan will do an entire episode with a British accent.
Yeah.
Well, that's never going to happen, is it?
No.
So, okay, right. Well, thank you for listening to the Hysteria Continues. We're playing out with Sinead O'Connor. So, goodbye to the good people.
Goodbye.
I don't believe in you.
Sinead, you little meatball.
God, I hate dreaming. It's not just a house. It's his home.